Welcome to the BioAlign Lounge. I'm Valerie Wascom Roberts, and today's episode is They Designed the Culture War to Keep You Broken. So what if the sides we're forced to choose every single day are part of a game that are designed to ensure that nobody actually wins? In this episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on the cultural paradigms of polarity, the invisible structures of this versus that keep our minds enslaved and our spirits divided. From politics and religion to race, ethnicity, sports, and wealth, we're going to explore how these identities are weaponized, and when taken too far, they successfully pull our eyes away from the core principles of goodness, oneness, consciousness, and true creation. But this isn't about feeling powerless. It's about learning how to step outside the cage and to recognize that we're in a cage when we're in a cage. We're going to dive deep into how to navigate this heavy world with lightheartedness and learning how to recognize when your nervous system is safe and how to develop spiritual maturity so that you can gain the superpower to look directly at polarity without the crushing weight of negative emotion. You begin to see the world objectively when you can do this. And this is not about spiritual bypassing. It's not about not moving through the emotions. This isn't an invitation to put your head in the sand. It's an active practice of using the emotional scale to gauge your true connection to spirit, your intuition, and your internal guidance system. It's time to stop fighting the wrong enemy and remember who you actually are. The trap of binary thinking happens when entities outside of yourself pit you into a singular identity, one small facet of who you are, and attempt to force you to feel that anyone that is outside of that, or especially somebody who may appear to be on an opposite spectrum from that, is bad or wrong or evil. So the most obvious examples of that in this current day and age in 2026 maintain and continue to be racial, ethnic, and political tensions. When you begin to see other people because of their skin color or their ethnicity as bad, wrong, or evil, just for that reason alone, not considering their personal morality, their ethics, their conscious decision making, that is exactly the trap that I'm talking about. So when we've seen these quotes, these political quotes recently coming out about destroying entire countries because their people are a different race, ethnicity, or religion, that is what I'm talking about here. Because you can see in the media that these spokespeople, they're very careful not to bring up the moral and ethical issues most of the time. They're not saying everybody that lives in this country that we're about to drop, showers of bombs on, everyone in this country is a criminal. Every child, every woman in this country is a criminal. They don't do that. They tell you their name of the country. Let's talk about Lebanon. So the Lebanese people are evil. They're bad. They're cruel. This is what we hear on the news. And therefore, that is reason for us to carpet bomb them, right? And when we really pull back and think about that, our children, do they even have the potential to be evil? Do school children? Do nursing mothers, breastfeeding mothers, in those moments of weakness and vulnerability, do they even have that capacity? Well, I'm certain that you can come up with a few examples of people who have walked that road of being dangerous while they are mothering or breastfeeding or raising infants. That is incredibly uncommon. And the reality is that right now in our news media, right now in the culture war, we are being pitted against people as a complete country. And it's no secret that here in the United States of America, this gas constantly being added to the fire of racism is just perpetual. And when we walk out into our communities and we walk down the street, I live in a very small rural community, and I can walk down my sidewalk in front of my house, and I can meet Native American people. I can meet Middle Eastern people. I can meet Asian people. I can meet African American people. I can meet Black people who are raised in America. I can meet Islamic people who were raised in America. I can meet Buddhists and Hindu people who are raised in America. I can meet this wide breadth of diversity, and we can say hello. And we can exchange vegetables from our organic gardens, and we can eat at one another's restaurants. And there's no negativity there. There's no evil eye. There's no harm. The reality here in my locality, and I am overarchingly believe that this is the truth everywhere, is acceptance. It is love, because that is who we are at the core of humanity. So anyone who has a soul, anyone who is walking a conscious path, that is what they're exuding. And those people from all different religions, from all different cultural upbringings, from all different ethnicities, from all different races, whether they were born in the United States or born in another country, we all share that commonality. Because when you have that conscious walk, that spiritual walk in your soul, goodness has to prevail. It's an undeniable reality. It's an undeniable truth that people who are on the spiritual path, goodness must prevail. And those people are the creators. But there are certainly individuals, human beings, who are not on the spiritual path. They're on an egoic path. They're on a path for power. They're on a path for wealth. They're on a path for control. And those individuals will use anything in their repertoire to do that. They will use manipulation. They will use guns. They will use bombs. They will use lies. They will go on Fox News and CNN News and MSNBC, and they will blatantly lie because they are not on the spiritual path. People who are on the spiritual path, people who are conscious creators, they speak truth. They recognize truth from evil. The more you walk that spiritual path of maturity, the more clear the differentiation between truth and lie becomes intuitively in that connectedness. Only conscious spiritual people can create. People on the egoic path, they must take from creators. So when I see these wars happening in our world right now, over land and over power and over control and over money, over military positioning, that's what it's really about. But under the guise and the lie that an entire country of children and women and people are evil, or that they are harboring evil people, I can see right through that. And I can see that those egoic people who are on the path to power and wealth and control, they only can siphon off those things by lying to good people who are hopefully not connected spiritually. But what I think is happening in the world right now is so many people are waking up. And I've been having this yearning to do this live and to do this YouTube video and this series of videos that I'm going to do for quite a while. And I've been pushing it down. But more and more, almost every single day, I'm being hearkened to do this. Even just today, I went to a breathwork class, and in my breathwork meditation, one of my guides was coming to me and saying, "Go home and do it today. You always say tomorrow. You say next week. You say when I have time. You say I don't. When I'm not doing this, when I'm not doing that. Do it today." So that's why I'm here today, and that's why I'm saying these things today. And It's a very important for me in this month of July 2026. There is a spiritual awakening happening. A lot of people around the world are going to have the veils pulled off of their eyes this month. And my hope is that some people will see this video and understand what I'm talking about. Those people who are on the egoic path of wealth seeking for the sake of power and control, of taking lands of the planet, taking other people's lands, of murdering women and children, those people will use religion, race, ethnicity, political talking points. They will manipulate with their wealth, with their glamour, with their celebrity. They will manipulate through sports. They will manipulate. That is the only tool they have. They cannot create. And that trap of binary thinking that we get caught up in is what sucks us into their control. As soon as you start becoming nervous when you walk down the sidewalk and, I'm Caucasian, I'm a mutt, I'm a lot of things. I'm European, I'm Asian, I'm Native American, I'm a lot of things, but I look Caucasian. And so when I see people who don't also look Caucasian, if I immediately shrink back, that is a telltale sign that I've bought in to this binary thinking. If I see, a woman with a head covering on, or somebody in a religious dress, around here I live in Virginia, we have German Baptists, Mennonites, Amish, those kinds of people. If I see that and I shrink back, telltale sign, I have bought into this binary thinking that it's us versus them, right? There is us versus them. There is good and evil. It is innate in being. The yin and yang is just part of life. The good and bad, we learn from the hard times. You've probably heard the saying, good men make hard times make good men. That's what I'm talking about. When we go through toughness in our life, it gives us the tools, the awakening, the awareness to choose consciousness or ego at every turn. So I want you to keep in mind, particularly these 6 main categories, but it could be others as well. These 6 main categories to notice how you shrink up, okay? Religion, race, ethnicity, politics, wealth, and sports, modern day sports. There's no doubt in my mind that modern day sports are a complete distraction. However, it can be a harmless distraction if it doesn't hurt you at the soul level. So I went to Florida State University. When I'm talking to somebody and they're a University of Florida Gator fan, and we can laugh about it, we can talk about it, and it doesn't throw me into a negative emotion, that's a cue to me that I'm spiritually mature. But if I am writhing, if I'm like hating them inside because they're not on my team, that's a problem. That is having let it go deeper than it needs to go. Sometimes this can happen because of gambling. Sometimes can happen just because of our ego. But yeah, even modern day sports, you watch the World Cup and you see people getting into brawls about the game. That's what I'm talking about. That emotional GPS system, knowing when you're at that negative place. So that's what happens when we take it too far, when we begin to believe these lies about race, religion, sports, because you know what? What harm is there in there being, thousands of religions in the world, tens of thousands, really, hundreds of thousands? What harm is there if at the core of all of those religions is spiritual enlightenment? Does it matter if you get there this way or this way? As long as there's spiritual enlightenment at the end of the path, shouldn't be, right? So where's the language coming in that is making us versus them? If There are hundreds of professional sports teams playing sports, and we enjoy watching it, and we like to watch people kicking the ball around and, making these amazing athletic moves. What harm is there in that until it becomes personal, until we gamble and lose money on it, until we get into a brawl, right? There's this pendulum of emotion related to these things. What harm is it that there's all of these different ethnicities and these blends of people all around the world? What harm is it? Until we enter into judgment, right? And we see this in our politics. We see that they have, in the United States and in many countries, they have reduced it to two. Because when we can have clear polarity between two, we can keep the crowds against each other. We can keep them in that us versus them mentality, and it prevents them from looking at the puppet master. So whenever you are thinking about politics and you are feeling that negative emotion, that hate, I'm gonna bring that up in just a moment. That is your clue that you are being pulled into this binary thinking that is taking you off of your spiritual path, okay? Because ultimately we are moving toward oneness, toward consciousness, shared consciousness, creation. If we're on the spiritual path, we are all creators, and we are creating goodness. And the only evil that can come is from those on the egoic path who attempt to hijack us and bring our attention from our creativity, our spiritual path onto them, onto those issues that they're putting in front of us to distract us, whether it be sports or politics or war, okay? So it's important to recognize when you feel these negative emotions. So let me pull up this Hawkins scale. If you haven't seen it before, this is a scale of emotional frequency, okay? So at the very top of this scale in particular, and there are different variations of this, different teachers use it for different illustrations, and you can see various, I first was turned on to this from Abraham Hicks and their emotional scale that looks more like a vortex. But you see at the top of this one is enlightenment. Some people will refer to authenticity, true conscious authenticity at the top of this scale. But the goal is having an emotional frequency of enlightenment. When you are enlightened to realize the conscious creator that you are, the amazingly powerful conscious creator that you are, your frequency, your physical, energetic, quantum physics frequency of your body, soul, and cells is very high. You see it in gold there, it says 700 plus, right? Peace, joy, love, reasonability, very high. Acceptance, willingness, very high, okay? So those are the emotions that make us well. Those are those states of being that make us well. And when you hear people saying like, oh, well, you just want to feel good, you want to feel enlightened and peaceful, you're just sticking your head in the sand, you're not really seeing what's going on here, you don't see the truth, that's impossible. Because you cannot be in the frequency of enlightenment in a pretend way. You cannot get there through faking it. You can't fake it till you make it with enlightenment. It doesn't say that the top frequency is putting a smile on your face and walking around with, glazed over eyes, having no idea what's going on in the world. That's not the top of the scale. That's not what we mean when we say feeling good is the work. Enlightenment is awareness of the polarity of the evil that is at work trying to siphon off the goodness. It is awareness of all of those things, yet understanding that without you giving your power to them, that they actually have no power, which gives you in return a beautiful state of peace and joy. So you stay in this beautiful, enlightened, peaceful, joyful state naturally. It feels good. And when you feel good in this way, you are calm. You are healthy. You are well. You understand. You make choices in alignment with your enlightenment, with your peace, with your joy. Looking toward the middle there, you see a neutrality and courage around 250 or 200. Those are still on the upper end of the frequency scale. Just being willing to be neutral. I don't know. What do you think? Tell me about it. Oh, you want to talk about the war? What do you think? Can you have a conversation about race, sports teams, war, politics, and stay in a state of neutrality? If you can, then you're still in a positive emotional state. But when you start to have those conversations and you are faking the smile on the outside, but you're feeling anger on the inside, or you're feeling fear on the inside, or grief, or guilt, or any of those lower emotions, your frequency, your quantum energy level is plummeting. It's depleting. And that is your cue that you have work to do. And my suggestion to you is when you get into those negative states, that the first thing that you do is take your eyes away. Take your conversation away. When you're starting to feel that tension in your chest, in your shoulders, in your throat, in your heart, in your gut, in your stomach, when you're starting to feel that tension, that anxiety in your body, that's the time where you need to step forward and say, hey, I'm feeling some feelings having this conversation. I don't know where it's coming from, but can we change the subject? Or, I got to go now, or, I'm kind of not feeling so good, whatever. Be truthful with yourself, be truthful with people that you're talking to, and face it. Because when we're feeling these negative emotions, we have to learn how to move through them. And this is a lifelong path, okay? So right now, today, sitting here in my safe, secure, comfortable house, I can have this conversation and I can talk about these topics, and I don't feel any of those, lower frequency feelings. I feel enlightenment and peace and joy right now. I want to share this out of love. So I'm not feeling any of those feelings, and so I can stay in this conversation. But if you're feeling those feelings, that is your body telling you you have work to do, right? Something is being brought up that you are not ready to keep moving in, and you need to face it, and you need to, whatever you do, go to breathwork class, go to yoga, go sit out in the woods, go ground, take your shoes off, get in your pool, take a bath, take a shower, and process those emotions. Write about it yourself. Why did I feel this way when I was talking to this person about this topic? Why did I feel this way when they brought this up? Why did I feel this way? Why did my stomach clench up? Why did my throat clench up? What's going on with me, right? Face it, work through it, figure it out. That's the spiritual path. And we're all on it. So, if I'm sitting in a restaurant and there were people next to me talking all about how they're gung-ho hooray for let's flatten Lebanon, let's kill everyone there, let's build a new world empire there, I would probably feel a little nauseated, probably feel a little sick to my stomach, probably feel a little bit sad, because I don't have a lot of control or power in that situation. And what are my choices here? I can go over and say, hey, can I get in on this conversation and talk about this with you? Or I can tune it out. We have choices to make all of the time. And oftentimes when someone that we really love or care about comes to us with these conversations, our emotions can get heightened. And it's important for us to realize where we are on that emotional scale at any given time and how we can move up that scale. How can we talk about these things without getting pissed off, without getting angry, without wanting to punch somebody in the face, right? Because 9 times out of 10, these topics you're either dealing with somebody who has taken the bait, they've gotten pulled into this polarity, and they're ignorant of it. They're just ignorant. Or they're truly a soulless, evil person. I don't really believe that there are people without a soul, but I do believe that there are people with very little soul development for whatever reason. That's a topic for another day, okay? So very little soul development. You may have heard Dolores Cannon talk about them as the background people, or you hear people on a lot of modern shows talk about them as NPCs or clones or different things like that. But oftentimes they're human beings who've had a tough path. Oftentimes they've been victims of evil people, also soulless people who have done things to them, and that's why they are where they are. But understanding that these topics are weapons of polarity, they are weapons to keep you in a place and to prevent you from growing spiritually, then you move toward enlightenment. And you can just open up Facebook, go to your local community group, whatever town or city you live in, go to your community group and just peruse the conversations. And there are people out there holed up in their houses who spend their days going into these groups, arguing with people that they disagree with. They're just festering in this negativity. And I'm telling you, that is preventing soul development. It's preventing it. And we'll talk more about soul development on future episodes. But these are weapons of polarity. And when we take it too far, we bring that evil into ourselves and into our communities. If I accept that too far, what is to stop me from verbally or physically assaulting somebody who looks different than me on the street? What is to prevent me from being afraid of somebody who looks different from me? Nothing if I'm not doing the spiritual work. So there are things we can do to regulate our own nervous system, to grow in our spiritual self so that we don't find ourselves in these situations. It is a polarized world. We cannot snap our fingers and make everyone in the world come along to the same point that we are on our spiritual journey, right? My good friend loves to watch the Walk for Peace monks and to keep up with the Walk for Peace monks, and is just always reveling in the beauty of their conversations about peace and goodness and brotherly love and harmony and things like that. And isn't it interesting that when this year, earlier in 2026, when the Buddhist monks were on their Walk for Peace, that there were people who were angry that certain people had housed them in their churches and things like that. So there were people in communities who were angry that certain like Christian churches had allowed the monks to stay in their churches. Why? I'm telling you, it's because they had taken the bait on this evil polarity. They had taken the bait. So wherever your fear is, wherever your anger is, wherever your hostility is, your let me pull it up again here. Wherever those lower frequency emotions are, that is where your work is. When you feel shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, lustful desire for something that's not yours, anger, pride, that's where your work is. That's where your spiritual work is, right? So it's an easy way to determine, print that off and paste it on your refrigerator and look at it. And remember, when you're in those emotions, what do I need to work on? Don't bypass it. Don't put on a fake smile and pretend to feel good. You're not going to really feel good. Feeling good is the work. You're not going to really feel good if you don't figure it out and move through the emotion. The difference between spiritual maturity and spiritual bypassing is doing the work. It's that simple. It's understanding how to use that emotional guidance system, your internal guidance system, how to tune into your intuition, how to tune into a connection with something greater than you, the collective consciousness that just exists. Tuning into that, whether you call it God, spirit, your guides, it exists. Whether you call it quantum energy, physics, the remnants of the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it, that consciousness is connected and it exists, and you are connected to it. You are in an invisible web of frequency, and you are connected to it. So learn how to tune into your internal guidance system. I would love for you to leave me any comments here about further questions that you have about this topic, about something that you disagree with in this topic, about deeper issues that you would want me to talk about in this topic, or people you want me to interview. I'm a generalist. I look at the big picture. I am a systems thinker. I see how things are connected. I'm not a detail person. I'm not going to sit here and quote use the statistics from the top of my head, or explain to you how things work at a minute level without looking at my notes. I'm a generalist. Here's what I know. I know that our collective consciousness, our spirituality, our personal, physical, mental, and spiritual health and wellness is all interconnected. It's all connected. And when you can understand how those things in your life are connected, you can begin making choices in your daily life that benefit you in your mental wellness, your physical wellness, and your spiritual development, all of those things. So thanks for tuning in today. If you watched this all the way to the end, I would love for you to give me a follow, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see what I'm up to next. I'm really following my internal guidance system on doing this, and just following the breadcrumbs that are being left for me when I'm in my prayer and meditation and contemplation time. So that's what I'm here for. If you want to know more about some of the aspects that I bring to my personal community, I have a snail mail community that is called BioAlign Lounge as well. If you want to know anything about that, the details are in the description, and I would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and let me know what you think.